Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. After hours for Palantir today may or may not be surprising to you, but it all looks like because NVIDIA is the big news story today, pushing the price and activity of Palantir after hours. And I'll also go over my thoughts on this overall activity that seems to be affecting Palantir, even though it seems to be more of a side effect of NVIDIA and of course the euphoria there. Now, a word of caution, I always take pre and after hours trading with a grain of salt, but at least when it comes to earnings reactions, we at least get a feel for the initial reaction to those kind of numbers. Tomorrow's next trading day, though, will never be guaranteed, of course, so let's take a look at the big factors today that I believe what are, of course, NVIDIA investors, but also Palantir investors are excited about. So after hours, we've got NVIDIA at the time of this recording up almost 9%. Plus, remember, this is an all-time high territory for the stock. So the market cap is getting there really healthily over $1 trillion. Now, NVIDIA released their Q2 2024 fiscal year quarterly results, and they did not disappoint. For reference, last quarterly earnings in Q1, they guided for $11 billion in revenue, which already was a huge growth rate. And they delivered $13.5 billion, an extra $2.5 billion in revenue. And while we're here, just look at those gross margins and net income values. All these growth rates are huge due to demand everywhere and for that computing power. Now, what I think is also important to note is the new guidance for NVIDIA they released this quarter. They are guiding for $16 billion in revenue. Now, for reference, in Q3 2023 fiscal year, they produced $5.9 billion in revenue, so they are going to more than double this figure in the year-over-year growth rate if they hit this $16 billion. These numbers are out of this world, honestly, especially if you're a Palantir investor, not really used to seeing these kind of huge billion-dollar values as well as growth rates. But that's a very basic headline level, and the markets will continue to digest this. But just from the headlines alone, NVIDIA is giving a very optimistic picture for their investors, and I think for the overall market. So how does this all tie into Palantir? Well, earlier in this year, when NVIDIA released their last quarter outlook, a lot of AI, or believed to be AI stocks, started seeing a lot of activity, and of course, Palantir was bunched in with them. I mean, we all remember Palantir hovering down in the $6 to $8 range, and today we are sitting on twice that at around $14 to $16, depending on what you've been looking at. So of course, lots of volatility has taken place since then. Now, for Palantir investors, I don't want to be overly optimistic, of course, because this is for NVIDIA directly. They are the main benefactor here when it comes to AI for training AI models on the vast amount of data and, of course, the computing power that you're going to need in general. So no matter what, they're going to be the winners here, it looks like. Palantir, of course, as a side effect, is by proxy going to benefit first by the increase in data because as more and more organizations around the world accumulate data, they're still going to need to be able to make sense of that, analyze that, and of course, this is going to help with Gotham and Foundry. That has always been a tried and true driver for Palantir, at least in the background, as we can see them thriving with larger clients like governments and major corporations. Now, on the artificial intelligence side, second, is a huge infrastructure play and opportunity. AIP ties into the value that Palantir has already been doing heavily with their ontology and tying disparate data together, but also Apollo when it comes to deployment and pushing software updates. When you add in the complications of using a large language model in your organization and to do it safely, you will start to not only run into technical challenges, but regulatory compliance and security ones. AIP ties together these main factors you want to control intermingling, like external data and proprietary data, but also internal and third-party large language models, while also distributing this amongst your different users and their different security levels. So it's very clear to me Palantir is an AI play and should be rewarded with some forward-looking potential. Now, to reward it with the same level as NVIDIA is a totally different story, and I do not agree with that, considering Palantir still needs to prove in their numbers they can monetize not only of their AIP platform, but all their other products as well, while also being able to spread not only into large commercial and government clients, but also the small organizations and become more of a widespread tool. There's a lot of euphoria in the market for these players, and of course, selfishly, I'm glad Palantir seems to be getting attention. For me personally, I'm always just more fascinated when we start seeing metrics in their financial reports beginning to prove the story. So we're going to have to wait till the future quarters here to see if this continues to play out. Like I said in the last video regarding their recent earnings, we saw leading metrics like their customer count going up. So what are your thoughts on this all, though? Do you think Palantir should be moving alongside NVIDIA and their amazing performance? Let me know below. And as always, thank you for watching and much appreciation to my channel members, and I'll see you all in the next video.